Good morning, you beautiful people, and welcome to the Maps of Modern Warfare. In this episode, Aniyah's Palace. Fun fact, Aniyah's Palace is actually just called Aniyah Palace, but I'm just going to call it Aniyah's Palace because that makes more sense to me. If you don't know how this series works, which should be none of you because this is the first episode of the series, I'm going to be going over all of the maps here in Modern Warfare and sort of reviewing them. I'm going to be going over a basic strategy of how to play them. I'm going to give you a little bit of lines of sight and jump spots here, and then I'm going to go over what I would do in order to improve the map itself. Unfortunately, this video is going to be quite different than the rest because Aniyah's Palace is just the weirdest map here in Modern Warfare. It truly is. Let's get right into it. For your basic strategy, this one is very simple. All you want to do is hold the palace. Now, this is going to be a team effort. You cannot do this by yourself. When you're playing that 10v10 match at TDM, because that's the only thing that you can play on this map as far as I know. I think they took it out of Dom, I'm pretty sure. But all you're going to need to do is go up into the palace area and use one of the 4 or 5 exits or entrances or staircases or balconies and just chop down people who are trying to come in. Now, an alternative basic strategy, what you could do is just remain in the courtyard. There's a lot of action near the pool and the pool house, so that is a very viable way of taking control of the palace and therefore that inner courtyard. Whoever controls that inner courtyard, whoever controls the palace itself, is going to be gearing up for victory. As far as lines of sight and jump spots, unfortunately, I feel like there are probably so many wonderful lines of sight and so many jump spots in this map. However, it's just too big and too complex, and it doesn't flow very well, or how the developers might have thought it flowed, that a lot of these jump spots, a lot of these lines of sight are pretty much null and void, because if it's not jumping up into the palace or a line of sight into the palace, it's basically useless. Now, of course, you can go outside of that inner courtyard, you can go to the outer ring and try to shoot in from then, but there's a big wall there, and it's really kind of, well, worthless. So that leads us to the improvement section already here of Aniyah Palace, and the biggest improvement that I could see isn't going to be about the map at all. In fact, I think this map needs some special attention. This map was clearly designed for ground war. Obviously, before the game was released, when there was an alpha out and the YouTubers went to that thing, they were playing this map on a 20v20 or 30v30 type game mode. It was 5 flag domination, which it still is in a private match. This is clearly made for ground war. Plus, if you pause the minimap, you can see there's grayed out sections at the top and bottom of the map where the headquarters would be in a ground war map. Also, when you call on a UAV, it radiates from the player, like it pings from your player like it does in ground war. It's not like a regular sweep like in every other map. So option number 1, throw this in the ground war playlist and see how it goes. It's a very small map, but dang it, you can make it 20 players, you can make it 15 players, you can make it 25 players or whatever, or you can make it 32 and have it just be the most chaotic random thing, map that we have here in ground war. Another alternative is just to increase the player count. A 15v15 at least would pan out a little bit better, faster, and more enjoyable. However, I don't feel like a straight up increase in player count will really help this map alleviate all of its issues, because I feel like the biggest issue this map has is that courtyard wall. That inner wall of the courtyard is so impenetrable, it creates so many choke points that it makes it really easy to hold down, and the entire game becomes about trying to penetrate the wall and get inside the palace. So if you have 30 players on one side, all it's gonna wind up being is 15 players inside the palace, 10 players outside the palace in the inner courtyard, and everybody spawn trapping one team on either end of the map. So one solution could be is breaking down some of these walls. In fact, there's a part of the wall where it looks like you can get through it and jump through it, but you really can't. So you can break that part down, but especially near that seaside, there's no entrances, there's no back doors, there's no hidden jump spots, there's no rhyme or reason for this wall to even be here. It separates the gameplay to its detriment. Now, the reason spawn trapping is really bad here is because on either end of the palace, in these little, the A or the E capture sites on domination, these feel like play spaces that were meant to be played in. There's lots of geometry, there's lots of lines of sight and lanes to be played with here. So I think an increased player count wouldn't lead to more of the map being used. I feel like it would just lead to more encounters happening. So we need to change something about the map in order for players to move around a bit more. If you haven't noticed, the gameplay behind you is me in a lobby with bots, just strolling around the perimeter, just not finding any engagements because even the bots know that the palace is really the only place to fight in this map. So my end-all be-all solution to this map is different game modes. Yes, this gameplay now is going to be of me playing hardpoint against bots on this map, and I kid you not, it was the most fun I've had on this map ever. Like, I've never moved this much, I've never had this much fun, I've never been this active. Now, obviously, it was against bots. I'm very much better than a lot of bots, but it was a mixture of bots, so you got veteran, hardened, regular recruit in there, so it's just like, I still die, like, naturally and all that stuff, but we were moving around the map. It was 6v6, and it felt fast-paced, and it felt action-filled because everybody was going around the hardpoint. Now, I get it. AI kind of goes around the hardpoint because they're smart like that. At least the, more difficult bots are. However, if you incentivize players like with headquarters or with hardpoint to actually move around in this map, even in a 6v6 game mode, if you don't increase the player count, I think this could really utilize a lot of the play space that isn't being used at all in this map. And here's another suggestion that I might make a different video about. I would love to see a ground war or a Aniyah's Palace war game mode. And I'm not talking war like World War II war, I'm talking war like World at War. And I'm talking like Advanced Warfare Momentum game mode, where you start with one flag, you cap it, you start with the next flag, you cap it, and you push the enemy team into their own spawn or they push you back into your own spawn, and it's a tug of war. While this could be a little bit more chaotic and a little bit more spawn trappy, obviously, than other game modes like Hardpoint or Headquarters, if you implemented this, not only on this map, but like other ground war maps, I feel like this would really increase the intensity of the gunfights, and it would encourage players to push forward and push up outside of their spawn, and then to push outside of the palace, and then push outside of the buildings outside the palace, because you could probably have 2 or 3 flags outside of that courtyard. You could probably have maybe 10 flags total on this entire map because of how long it is. You can just keep going with the amount of points you need to capture, and it could be a really true tug of war. It could be really awesome. So yeah, that's Aniyah's Palace. I feel like the walls contain too much of the action. The palace is too much of a power position that people don't want to move outside of it. And the really only good way, in my opinion, of getting people more active is to introduce a larger player count and, more importantly, different game modes. Hopefully you have enjoyed. If you made it this far into the video, perhaps I've earned a like. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for my next map review, which is going to be Arklov's Peak. And until the next absolutely beautiful Modern Warfare morning, I'll catch up with you guys later. And as always, stay beautiful.